But look who I got a text from.
Oh.
I've been trying to do that a year ago.
Wow, that's nice. Very nice.
So we'll see.
Great.
Be wonderful if that happens.
Absolutely.
That was a surprise.
That's great.
Hi everyone, Shabbat Shalom.
Hi there, everybody. We'll be starting shortly. Look at all these nice people.
Predicting on my third year. It's okay. It's all right. It's COVID.
Is that on too? I think it is. I think it's not. I don't know. There we go. Hine mato umanayi shevet achi gam yachad hine mato umanayi shevet gam yachad. How good it is to be together, together as one in love, joy, and laughter. How good it is to be in this moment together. Kulanu beyachad. Together as one in love, joy, and laughter. How good it is to be in this moment together. Kulanu beyachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is good to be together. Everyone who's in this room right now, everyone who's joining us on Zoom, everyone on Facebook and YouTube together, coming together as community. That's what makes Shabbat for me. And so I'd like us to begin together by offering our blessing over the candles, beginning Shabbat with light. And I'd like to invite up the Brooks family to lead us. Bill and Susan, awesome. I wasn't sure if it was the whole crew. I'm glad it's both of you.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you both.
Amen. Thank you. And we continue with our blessing. I'm find in this prayer book over here. Our blessing over our grape juice or wine.
123, I think. It's been so long since we called page numbers.
It's true. Anyone who's following along in the books, It is page 123. Good memory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho, v'ahavau v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikomim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. L'chaim.
Amen. L'chaim.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. We turn to the words or the songs of Kabbalat Shabbat, of welcoming in this beautiful day with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, 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 Olchem Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nidin Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nidin Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, 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 Zecher Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let us sing out to God, sing out to God a new song. Let us sing out to God, sing out to God a new song. Yai, lai, la, lai, 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 la, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. La 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Lefu derale na la nai, naria letzuri sheinu, lekama bana betoda, bizmirot nari halo. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Let us sing out to God, sing out to God a new song. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
And as we prepare to welcome in the Sabbath bride, let us first welcome in one another. I know it feels a little funny offering hugs across a room. I know it feels a little funny sending messages online, but I think it matters. It matters to truly welcome one another and to embrace community. So Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And as we greet one another, we prepare to greet Shabbat.
לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו ולתפארת ולתהילה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. בראש מקדם נשוכה, סוף מעשה רק שבת תפילה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה.
Body or in spirit.
אורי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עד סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה. לחדותי לקראת עליי, 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 בני שבת תקבלה.
Psalm 50 by Debbie Perlman. You are the open door that beckons me in. Peeking around the door frame, I begin to enter your glory. You move me forward, O Eternal, to step beyond self-made boundaries. Lift my foot over the threshold that I might abide with you. In the house of the Eternal, I found my questions waiting to be posed. They filled me with wonder. Through the doorway of the Eternal come jumbled sounds and mingled scents. Warm sunlight fall across my lap. All this your creation. Sit with me, eternal teacher. Encourage my seeking. As I fill my hours with your mitzvot, so shall I be filled. Then send me through your door, stretching up to honor your name, sharing out this wonder, enriching myself in the giving. We join In our responsive prayer, the call to worship, the Baruch Hu. 140.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai, Oram, Le'olam Va'ed. Le'olam Va'ed.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidbaro ma'ariv ahaviv vechokma poteach she'arim. God of creation, who makes the evening fall from light into darkness with the setting of the sun. You unfold the heavens with moon and stars, and crown our souls with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidbaro ma'ariv ahaviv vechokma poteach she'arim. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv ahaviv.
Compassionate source of wisdom, we give thanks to you for words of Torah, which guide us and inspire us throughout our lives. We see ourselves reflected in your holy words, sometimes like Hagar we are seeking, like young Moses we are unsure, but we are also like Jacob who found blessing in life struggles, like Abraham our father who led with kindness and compassion, like Moses who recognized God in unlikely places, and Aaron, healer and arbiter of peace. We are like Miriam, whose prayerful music inspired community, like Shifra and Puah the courageous, and Joseph the forgiving. Seeking justice and truth, we turn your Torah again and again, each time finding new inspiration to accompany us on our sacred journeys. Thank you, O God, for your holy teachings, your love letter to the soul. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Amen.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gates. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. We turn to the Michamocha prayer, celebrating all the miracles in this world, great and small.
ונאמר כיבד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Come to the Hashkivenu prayer, this evening prayer that asks God to spread over us God's chupat shalom, God's canopy of peace, protecting us through the night. It also asks God to guide us and So we share in this Hashkivenu prayer. Oh, guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. And help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Ufros Alinu Sukat Shalomecha. Ufros Alinu Sukat Shalomecha. Oh, guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. And help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps.
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soil, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We turn to the Amidah, our standing prayers, beginning on page 164 or on the screens above, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Hagiti Latecha. Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Hagiti Latecha. Yalla la la la, yalla la la la. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem. Mechalkel chayim bechesed. Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha baal gevurot, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, וקדושים בכל יום יעללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Take a few moments for your personal prayers and meditations. We'll continue again on page 181.
לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני
We now are going to turn to our Torah service. And tonight we are going to begin the Book of Leviticus. So if you happen to have one of those Tanakhs there with you, we're going to start with the very first verses in the Book of Leviticus. And as we prepare to take the Torah out of the ark, I invite you to rise, whether in body or in spirit.
כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים 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 ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושותיו כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים.
You may be seated. And for our Aliyah tonight, this happens to be one of those weeks of the month where we get to honor everyone who has a birthday, an anniversary in the month of March. I know who you are, so If you don't come up, well, you know that I know. But I want to invite anyone who has a birthday or anniversary, please come up because we'd love to honor you. We'd love to offer you this blessing.
Holy moly.
Look at this. I
Look at
say
all
that I
of
know
you.
who they are and they come. It's great.
Great.
We just want to be able to offer you blessings. It's a wonderful thing to get
this side.
blessings. Yeah, look at this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
That's right. Scared you. All right. Are you ready to bless? 1, 2, 3. Baruch Adonai Amorach Leolam Vaed. Amen. Amen. ויקרא אל משה וידבר אדוני אליו מאוהל מועד לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם אדם כי אקריב מכם קורבן לאדוני מן הבהמה מן הבקר ומן הצאן תקריבו את קורבנכם אם עולה קורבנו מן הבקר זכר תמים יקריבנו אל פתח אוהל מועד יקריב אותו לרצונו לפני אדוני ושמח ידו על ראש העולה ונרצה לו לכפר עליו. And the blessing, 1, 2, 3. לעולם נטע בתוכנו. Amen.
And for everyone who is online, I invite you to write into the chat if you have a birthday or an anniversary, or like Jillian, you can write about someone you love who has a birthday or an anniversary. I see that it's Judy Frankel's birthday, and there's a few birthdays over here, right? I invite everyone who has a birthday to come over here. I know, we're making you do all sorts of stuff, moving around. And I know you have double duty over here because you have a birthday and an anniversary. Yes. Wonderful. So, great, I'm looking online. Awesome. Pam's son, Scott, Julie Cohen, Judy Frankel. In addition to all of you, this is a great crowd. This is wonderful. I'm so happy to be able to bless you. Mishaberach avotenu v'yimotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless each of you as you celebrate your birthdays this month. May you be blessed with health, joy, and contentment. May your face mask always protect you. May you always have an umbrella when it rains, and may you enjoy the rainbow after the storm. May you experience many new adventures. May you sing loudly and wholeheartedly, even in the shower. May you dive into a thoroughly engaging book, enjoy good food and great company. But above all, may you, all of you here, all of you celebrating a birthday online, may you know that you are seen, loved, respected, and appreciated for the person that you are. May you live until 120, and may this year truly be a wonderful year for every one of you. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
And if you had a birthday but not an anniversary, I invite you to sit down. And I want to be able to bless all of you who have an anniversary.
Thank you.
Is there anyone online who has an anniversary? Oops. I don't see anyone written in the chat, but if you do and you just can't type it in there, know that this blessing is for you as well. Sherman's got a lot of birthdays in the month of March, or a lot of blessings, rather. It's wonderful. Mishaberach avotenu v'yimotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors under the canopy of life commitment bring blessings to you as you celebrate your anniversary. Do you want to share how many years you've been married? 54. If that's not worthy of blessing, I don't know what is. That's awesome. Your love was strong on the day of your wedding. But since then, it has grown even stronger. You have been through great joys and successes and holy moments. You've also been through hardships and losses and trials. With each experience, you have made the commitment to choose one another time and time again, to do the hard work of understanding and supporting and being there for your partner. Work that, as we know, isn't easy, but is that it's so much more than worth it. May the blessings you've enjoyed continue to overflow with health and goodness, with joy and life-affirming spirit filling your hearts. May your love grow even stronger with each passing day. Mazal tov to both of you.
Thank you so much.
And to everyone online celebrating an anniversary, know that blessing is for you as well. Now that we've offered these blessings for our birthdays and anniversaries, we turn again to our Torah as we lift it for all to see and prepare to place it in our holy ark. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל, לבני בני ישראל. וזאת התורה, 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 וזאת התורה.
You may be seated. We pause to offer words of healing. And we begin with this beautiful prayer that Alden Salavi created along with the Friedman Harvey family for people who endure chronic conditions. And I want you to write in the chat if there's anyone for whom you'd like to offer this prayer, or to say aloud all at once the name of anyone for whom we'd like to offer this prayer.
Ray Murphy.
Together, God of our mothers and fathers, watch over all who live with genetic disorders, life-threatening medical conditions, and chronic or degenerative diseases. Bless them with endurance and resilience, fortitude and hope, with opportunities to thrive and shine even as their conditions progress. Watch over them, their family and friends, our community, and all humankind. We pray for the wisdom and insight to see each member of our community with clear eyes and an open heart, as another human being, a whole person with hopes and dreams, proud of who they are, striving to be their best selves, struggling with this life and loving it too, as we all do. Rock and shelter, grant us all the ability to see each other's humanity clearly, to cherish each other's individuality, to care deeply about one another, to mourn our losses and celebrate our victories together, so that we live, act, and pray as one community of care and blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadeh gaver. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who strengthens our steps. We also take some time to offer a Mishaberach prayer for those who perhaps have more acute medical needs. And I invite, as I go around the room, to say out loud the name of anyone for whom you'd like to offer this prayer. And again, for those of you online, I invite you to write into the chat anyone that you'd like to say this prayer for.
Carol Zeifman, Ellie Bruner,
Melissa Polk.
Norm Cantor, Pat Wade, Liz Sher.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu, mekor habracha labotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, healer of all of those who are in need of your presence. And we all say, Amen.
Amen. It's been 2 years. This Shabbat marks 2 full years since our country shut down. 2 years since we heard the news that schools were going virtual, that work was going virtual. 2 years since we frantically searched for toilet paper and paper towels. 2 years since doctors and nurses, emergency and essential workers braced themselves for a pandemic the likes of which very few of us had ever seen. In these years, we have made friends through boxes on Zoom screens or through masks that cover half of our faces, if not more. We thought deeply about where we would go and under what circumstances. We took tests and quarantined at the presence of each sniffle. We suffered losses, deep losses of all kinds. For 2 years, we were taught that people are toxic even as we needed one another more than ever. For 2 years, we have largely kept our distance physically, and yet we were called to be there for one another in ways or on a scale that most of us had never before known. We simultaneously were pulled apart and brought together. This week, we read from the Torah about sacrifices. Now, like you, I'm not necessarily a fan of the blood and guts that precedes the portion of the Torah that we read from this morning, and yet there is a lot of power just in the word sacrifice. Because in Hebrew, the word for sacrifice is korban, which comes from the Hebrew root kuf resh vet, meaning korov, closeness, to draw near to one another. It begs us to ponder a question that perhaps has been on our minds even more than usual over these past 2 years. What does it mean to draw close to one another? In our portion, God calls out to Moses, Vayikra el Moshe, to ask him to relay a message to the people, and says, Ki yakriv mikem korban ladonai, when you come close to offer a sacrifice to God. Despite the somewhat gory and graphic nature of this Torah portion, this verse reminds us that it's not actually the offering that matters so much as the action of offering it. A sacrifice, a korban, is an act of creating connection. As Rabbi David Jaffe explains, the entire sacrificial system is an exercise in drawing close and being in relationship with God, and by extension with oneself and others. Embedded in the details of the sacrificial system are clues to having sacred relationships. Every sacrifice is a gift offered to God from a place of joy and in hopes of deepening connection. As Rabbi Monica Gomery explains, we cannot read this verse with these Hebrew words without thinking about another verse, a verse from Psalm 145, which is from the Ashrei Prayer. It uses the very same Hebrew roots in a slightly different order in order to convey a complementary idea. Karov Adonai l'chol korav. I see the cantors trying to figure out what that verse is, right? Karov Adonai l'chol korav. God is near to all who call him. We are reaching out to God, Rabbi Monica explains, but God is also reaching out to us. It's working in two directions. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel writes, we cannot make God visible to us, but we can make ourselves visible to God. So we open our thoughts to God. The purpose of prayer, just like the purpose of sacrifice was long ago, is to be brought to God's attention, to be listened to be understood by God, not to know God, but to be known by God. We ask God to come close to us, and we approach God in search of a sacred relationship, in search of a kind of closeness for which we yearn. Now this offering, as Rabbi Jaffe explains, it isn't just about us and God. That's one important relationship that's expressed through the korban, but it's also about being there and approaching one another and even ourselves. It's about recognizing that through giving, through these acts of kindness, we draw close to something sacred, and that sacred exists in every single one of us. Now, just yesterday, there was a meeting in our congregation with the Reopening Task Force. And the Reopening Task Force voted that we no longer need social distancing within our temple, which is a big, big step forward. That we can have our first oneg at the temple, inside and outside of the temple, next week, and that we can begin to embrace one another, albeit with masks on, and with thoughtful deliberation about exactly how we do that. And while this is a huge step forward for our community, we also know that not everyone will feel comfortable physically drawing close. Not all of us are able to do that for health reasons or for other reasons entirely. Some of us must keep our distance physically. So what does that mean for our connection? Well, if we go back to our Torah portion is teaching us that closeness comes, perhaps at times by being in close proximity to other people, but it comes from something that is so much more important. It comes when we are there for one another. Our Torah portion teaches that, yes, it is lovely to embrace and draw physically near, but real closeness, real connection does not need to be in close proximity. We draw near when we extend ourselves to one another in kindness, compassion, curiosity, and love. 2 years ago, our world shut down, but our connections didn't. We found ways to connect and to be there for one another, to offer meals, to offer phone calls, to offer our presence. As the world begins to open up, let us continue to build upon that closeness we've built. Let us remember not to neglect the deeper kind of closeness for the physical kind. Let us not stop reaching out to everyone, regardless of whether they can be physically near or not. 2 years ago, our world shut down, but our connections didn't. Let us, as it opens, continue to build upon the closeness we've built, one small act at a time. Kain Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. We turn now to our Alinu Prayer. It's waiting for it to be up there. Okay. Our Alinu Prayer, which calls us to create the world that we wish to see. And I invite you to rise in body or spirit one more time as we offer these words.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. And one of the ways that we draw close to one another, we know, is by sharing our stories, sharing important moments in our lives. And so tonight happens to be Rabbi Catherine's, that created an echo, sorry about that. Rabbi Catherine's father's yahrzeit, and she asked to share some words, some memories, and a reading in his honor. So thank you so much.
So shalom. So as I changed clothes and got ready and wondered where my yahrzeit candle was for my father, how many of you have done that when you've gotten around to that? I realized that this is the 25th anniversary of my father's death. So now I know I felt so driven to say something tonight. And I wanted to acknowledge him. I wanted to acknowledge who he was and how he changed. because in that way, I think that his inheritance continues and that we and other people can learn from it. His full name was not Jim Reeks. His full name was Captain Lloyd Derlin Reeks, Jr. He was a bomber pilot in the Pacific during World War II. He enlisted to be to defend the country the day after the attack on Pearl Harbor. He never talked about his service, and we children, I'm one of 4 children, were forbidden to ask him anything about it because he had frequent nightmares for many, many years. The concept of PTSD did not exist. On his base, and this is, I want to think about, what happens to people who are fighting a war in some place. In his base, on his base, he was the captain of his airplane, not his ship. Sometimes when they would come back from a bombing run, some of the people, some of the crew were dead in the plane. As a pilot, as anyone who came back, one thing they did in the Pacific Theater, which is where he was, is that you could have as much beer as you could drink when you came back from a bombing run. He drank a lot. One day he was standing on the flight deck of his airplane, and sand blew into his eyes. He lost the sight in one eye, and without it, he could not become a career military pilot, which was his desire and his hope. Instead, he was recognized and got another medal and more ribbons when he was honorably discharged. As in many families, the trauma suffered by a soldier returning from battle affects everyone. My father had trouble keeping jobs. He was a traveling salesman away for weeks at a time, and those were good weeks for the children because he had a very, very short temper. However, by the time I was in 5th grade, he couldn't keep a job very often, and my mother returned to work as a teacher. We were 10, 8, 6, and 4 at the time. My father's job losses became more and more frequent, and his temper got worse. Finally, when I was 15 or 16, Mom got Dad to join AA, which changed his life and our lives. Gradually, they got better. My father got and kept a good job in Torrance until he retired. His boss and the people with whom he worked liked and respected him. After retiring, he and my mother were active in San Pedro. They joined this synagogue. They traveled and they enjoyed their grandchildren. Jim Reeks became the generous, warm, and interesting man that some of you here knew. And I wanted to respect who he was and how he changed and how that made a difference in the life of his family. It's not an unusual story for the military out of World War II at all. Today I've chosen to read There Are Stars. It's a poem by Hannah Senish. It's on page 595 in our book. Hannah Senish herself fought and died in World War II. She was born in Budapest, Hungary. She was a poet. She was a special operations executive member in Palestine, where her family had moved. She was one of 37 Jewish SOE recruits from the Mandate Palestine. She was parachuted, in fact, she jumped the parachute out of the plane by the British into Yugoslavia during the Second World War. Towards the end of it, it was right before the time when the Jews of Hungary were the last large number of Jews to be rounded up. So unfortunately, she parachuted in, but the group she was with were immediately captured. She was tortured, she was arrested, She was imprisoned. She refused to give away any details of her own mission. She was tried and executed by a firing squad, ironically in Budapest, Hungary, which is also where she was born. She was 23 years old when she died. So as we read, if you have your books out, or as I read and you listen, depending on what you'd like to do, I'm going to read one of her poems. It's one we've used here frequently. And I chose to read it also because it focuses on memory and remembering what people did, how they changed, how their choices affected the lives of themselves, their families, their communities, and of course that just goes out in a river. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star is gone. And so it is with people that we have loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Catherine. Really, really appreciate your beautiful, beautiful memories, your honest memories of your dad, which I think a lot of us find inspiring and meaningful. This Shabbat, we are remembering people who have died in recent weeks, Max Calderon and Clyde Wong. We are also observing the yahrzeits. Hold on one second. We're observing the yahrzeits of Hadi Arkoff, Helen Asteimer, Albert Behrman, Henry Behrman, Jan Berry, Kyle Brooks, Charlie Brucker, Barbara Burke, Francis Irving Butler, Olga Carlin, Harry Cohen, Susan Cohen, Charles Coliff, Rachel Coliff, Ruth Crone, Nathan Cuppersmith, Harry Dineko, Stephen Dara, Edward Daskin, Abe Dubin, Mary Eichner, Guinevere Feldman, Ina Feldman, Stephen Friedberg, Goldie Galanter, Mildred Goodrich, Frida Gould, Bill Gren, Lonu Gruber, Max Hameson, William Hayes, Isaac Jukiewicz, Stan Klein, David Leffler, David Leifer, David J. Lerner, Charles Marek, Annette Miller, Stanley Moss, Bethy Peltz, Liraz Peretz Alcazar, Max Prince, Jim Reeks, Esther Rockoff, Al Rosenberg, Marion Rubin, Joseph Jacob Sachs, Alvin Salk, Reva Salk, Mildred Singer, Carolee Tyson, Hannah Vasquez, Sally Yarkover, and Meyer Zirkis. For everyone whose names are said out loud, and everyone who has names of people that we hold silently in our hearts, we turn to page 598 and offer the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'amad yivrach hirotei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon. Uv'chayei d'kol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'yizkanan kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tu shbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. And together we say, Amen.
Amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Yase shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
You may be seated for just one moment as I tell you about some of the exciting things that are coming up at Temple. And actually, before I even do that, I just want to thank Bill and Susan so much for leading us and lighting the candles, for all of our birthday and anniversary people who came up here in order to receive a blessing and say the blessing over the Aliyah, and to Rabbi Catherine for offering such touching and inspiring words in memory of her father. A few different things that are coming up, a lot that's going on next weekend in particular. So next Friday night, we have a very special service. It honors the 100th anniversary of the very first bat mitzvah, and we are going to be having different people honored during that service, so I hope that you will come and be a part of it. On Saturday night, we will have all of our Purim festivities with a party with food and games and drinks and a Purim spiel where you get to watch us make absolute fools of ourselves. I mean, what could be more fun than that? And it'll just be a really nice time for community to be together and celebrate Purim. Purim, of course, actually begins this Wednesday evening, and so we're going to have a virtual celebrity-style Purim event where donations of any kind are welcomed, and all of that money will go toward a charity of the winner's choosing as it pertains to Ukraine and everything that's going on there. Another thing to be aware of is that we have a drive that was going to be going on starting on Sunday for medical supplies that are going to be sent to Ukraine to help with so many people who can use that. Is there anything else on here? Yes, something very, very important. There is a Taos lecture featuring Professor Susan Aronoff, who was one of the original Women of the Wall, talking about her experience. She is amazing. I really encourage you to sign up and be a part of that. You won't regret it. And I think that's it. I think I didn't miss anything. Look forward to seeing you at all these things right back here for Shabbat services. And I hope that everyone truly has a wonderful Shabbat. One other last thing about next week's service. It will be, as I mentioned, the first time we get to have an oneg together in 2 years. So I hope that we can delight in sharing some food together. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, and those of you who are here with us on Zoom, we're going to whisk you away into your Oneg Shabbat breakout rooms at this time. Shabbat shalom. No, I know who you're talking about. Give me 1 second. Yeah. That's okay. I'm almost there. I just want to make sure that this is no longer. No, it's not. Okay, good. Excellent. Leave breakout room.